broke up my marriage. You're an awful person.
You're 24 years old. Why would I listen to you? Why would you be giving therapy and advice to people who clearly need it? It doesn't make any sense, Ari. This is a horrible idea.
You're listening to
unlicensed
therapy with Ari Mannis.
But the Build Show Network is basically the Dave Ramsey for builders.
Yeah, totally.
That's how I would describe it,
Yeah,
right? It's other builders that you've verified as legit, know their stuff, experts in their field.
Yeah.
And they start little shows too.
And now tradesmen too. We've got an electrician, we've got a drywall contractor, I got a plumber. We're talking to some other folks as well.
And you all learn from each other, give each other tips. How did you get your show started though? Because you're a contractor?
Yeah, I'm a contractor.
Okay.
So I'd worked for other builders for 10 years and knew that I've always been a bit of a entrepreneur, from my paper route as a kid to my lawn mowing business. I just always liked working for myself and making money. And so after working for other people for 10 years, at some point I was like, gosh, I really want to start my own company. And I worked for a corporate builder that also aggravated me in a lot of the ways that they built and vacation policy.
You saw ways you could do it better.
For sure.
But they weren't doing it. What I mean, well, no, I did want to know how you became a contractor as well, but how did you go from contractor to go, I think I could YouTube this and host a YouTube channel? Because you started, 10 years ago?
08.
Oh, wait. Okay, so more than 10
I'm
years
OG,
ago.
before Google owned them.
I watched an old video, maybe a 9-year-old video, and it is amazing to just see like the quality difference in videos and just the beginnings.
Yeah, I love it. It's super fun. But yeah, I started in 08, and before that, a year prior, I started a blog. And so here I was, this new contractor. I started my business in 05, and I also was brand new to Texas because we moved to my wife's hometown when we were pregnant with our first kiddo.
Where were you living beforehand?
Portland, Oregon.
Okay, I was just there this weekend.
It's a great town.
Yeah.
I love Portland.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, a little run down with crackheads now, but
unfortunately, the last 10 years have been hard on Portland.
But it's beautiful. Yeah,
it is. It was a great town.
It's a beautiful place.
It is a beautiful place. So I moved to Texas and was like, gosh, how am I going to start this business? Like, no one knows me. I never built a thing here. And I saw this guy, David Meerman Scott. You should look him up. He's awesome. Amazing trainer when it comes to marketing. And I read his book and I did his course. It was called The New Rules of Marketing. And in 06, 07, he's like, you should start a blog because Google will find your blog and send it to people. And so I started writing a blog.
And so this is just, you were thinking SEO to get more contractor work. Was that your intention behind the blog?
Just to market my business. Mm-hmm. That was it. And I wrote the blog, and I was on the blog. I was doing like 2 blog posts a month, nothing special.
Yeah, part-time.
So I had maybe 10 blog posts, and I went to a meeting with this prospect. And I remember very specifically him shaking my hand and being like, oh my gosh, Matt, it's so great to meet you. And I was like, well, how do I know you again? He's like, oh, I read all your blog posts last night. I loved how you got super nerdy and talked about the solar heat gain coefficient and what the U factor related to R value of the windows. And so it was enough encouragement for me to go, I should keep this up. This is good. And then a buddy in 2008 was like, hey, borrow my flip video camera. Before there was cell phone
Those
videos.
Little square.
And you flipped a button and the
were
USB
still pretty low quality. Yeah,
they were terrible.
Yeah.
And the mic was like on the camera, so I'd tell people, "Hey, you gotta yell like it's your grandma because the mic's right here. So you gotta talk."
It's kind of like the first rendition to GoPro, kinda.
Pretty much.
Not action, yeah.
Exactly. Just really bad audio. So I published my first video on YouTube in 08, and again, it was just to promote my contracting business. And I had a really similar experience where I had 6 or 8 videos up. I was publishing maybe 2 videos a month. And I met with another prospect. And this time, instead of shaking my hand and saying, oh, nice to meet you, they acted like I was their long lost brother. Like, Matt, oh, it's so great to meet you. Oh my, just like I know you.
So from the one flip video, they knew you.
From 6 videos that they watched. They automatically decided, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. He doesn't seem shady, which contractors have this shady reputation. So if I can have a conversation on camera and they can decide, oh, he's actually an honest contractor and he knows what he's doing, I've lost a whole hour of interviewing, which is what kind of shady contractor.
Oh, I mean, it's true. My parents built a house in the 90s, and this was pre even Google reviews or Yelp any of these online websites, so they get word of mouth from a contractor. Oh, I heard
Right.
this guy, and then they ended up suing him because he fucked them over.
I mean, it's not unusual. That is the horror
Yeah,
story
that's how
at
it used to
parties.
be. So it's and I know nothing about house building, but to show how interesting your YouTube channel is and how good it is, I watch your videos all the time, and I can't afford to build a house. I have no interest in building a house. I have no foreseeable future. I'm not going to be building a house or hiring anyone to build a house.
never
But I
know,
watch all your
man.
videos. And I imagine a lot of people are like that because you have millions of views and millions of subscribers. There's no way those are not all contract workers and construction workers and stuff
sure.
like that. So that's how I like watching people who nerd out about things and are clearly an expert on these things, or even if they're not an expert, they're like geeking out on these new technologies. And I watch them, I'm like, oh, cool. This guy's into it. At least you pretend to be. I don't know if you're really into it.
No,
but you
I
pretend
totally am. I totally nerd out about it. Because, I mean, the nice thing about construction is there's always something you can learn. There's always something you can do better. So every house that I build is a prototype. And if you're going to build these houses, why not build the next one a little better than the last one? And so there's always something to learn. You never
it
get
seems
to
like
the
new
end.
stuff is coming out all the time because I'm
All the
watching
time.
you go to these conferences and you're like, this new product's going to come out next year. It's going to change like just the floors that piece together.
Yeah.
And
So you see that is
the
pretty
layer
cool,
that
isn't
goes
it?
under the floor is that little plastic mat thing. There's all
Yep.
these things.
There's so much you can nerd out about. It's crazy.
So when you I saw you remodeled your own house, or was that was going to be your mother-in-law house, or is that two different houses?
Two different projects.
So when you do it, it seems like you're going all out for your own stuff, like using
for
every
sure.
little thing. Is there anything you skimp out on? Because, at the end of the day, you got money, but you're not a billionaire. Is there anything where you're like, okay, I'm not going to do this?
For me, it's I really believe that you should build smaller and build better. So, at every price point, just like, I suspect here in Hollywood where we are, you could probably get a pretty nice 1,000 square foot apartment, or you could get a not as nice 2,000 square foot apartment for not much more. I'd much rather build smaller and build better. So, I live in Texas, which is well known to have bigger houses, but yet my family of 6, I have 4 kids plus a dog.
They all still live there?
Well, we have
house?
2,700 square feet. I didn't build a very
not
big
huge.
house. Yeah, just a regular sized house, but I built it really well.
Right. It's the nicest 2,700 square
It's
foot
the nicest house in my neighborhood, and I'm fine with that. I mean, I overbuilt for the neighborhood, but I don't care. I'm going to be there a long time.
Yeah, and as building technologies get cheaper, probably your house will age better.
For sure. 100%.
Is there, what would you say the biggest differences between, let's say, a house from the 20s, 40s, 50s, 80s, 90s? Like, is there a age of a house where as a new home buyer, you're like, I'm not buying a house that's built before 1940?
Well, it's actually a little bit the opposite in some respects. I think you're better off in a 50s house than a 70s house, for instance.
They just build it better.
They
in the
build it
50s?
better. We
And
had
how does
better
something like that
materials.
happen? Because you'd think it would obviously go the other way, to where they would have better materials in the 70s. Did they just like, hey, this technology is way cheaper, we're going to go with that?
Yeah, I think that starting around the 70s and maybe a little bit into the 80s, we started value engineering things, which is the term for making it crappier and cheaper, to the point that, some of the new houses being built today are really significantly the exact same house that was built 25, 30 years ago.
So to a lot of builders, things haven't changed that much.
Zero. Yeah, I mean, I worked for a national production builder, and when I was building for them in the 90s, I was building with this cardboard sheathing that at the time I didn't know any better. I was a 23-year-old.
You're just listening to your boss.
Yeah, I was
This is
like,
how you do
"Great,
it."
This is how you do it.
Yeah.
And now I know better, and I realized that those houses were super flimsy. They had tons of bugs getting in all kinds of places. They were energy inefficient to the point that they were really not comfortable, and they took a lot of input to make them comfortable. And yet I can drive 2 or 3 hours or 2 or 3 20 minutes, let's say, from my house and see another national production builder, not the same one, but a different one, in a new neighborhood building the exact same house as I was building in 1995.
Wow.
And here we are almost 30 years later using the exact same technology. Like,
And
really?
how much money
We could do better.
How much money does a house like that save on building? So let's say the construction cost is, let's say, $300 on a small house. How much money would a version of a house you would put out be?
Typically, I'm going to spend at least double what a production builder is going to
Got it.
charge or price. But there are some national production builders that are building better. But
I just watched one of your videos where it was a guy who's building track homes,
Mm-hmm.
but he was still taping the edges and insulating it properly.
yeah, that video is done really, really well. That guy's name is Scott True, and he's building in a 45-minute out of Austin suburb.
Yes, that video.
He's building incredibly well at a very tight price point, and I'm really thankful to have met him because I tend to build for people that have more money. That's kind of the reputation I've got.
Yeah, you're going for high-end homes.
Yeah, and I'm using more expensive subs. But what I liked about him is he's using really run-of-the-mill subs, but managing them in a way to get a much better product. How cool is that?
That's the next step, you would
Yeah,
think. That's
yeah.
You got to get the base price up. But so would you say that these builders are doing that not because they want to build cheap, but because that's the budget they're given? Or is it that's just what they know, that's what they do, and they still charge more? Like, is that something that needs to change, you think, or that's just what it is because people are buying homes at that price point?
You know, it's a little bit of both. I think that one of the things I love about my videos is that I've got folks like you are watching this. You're not in the business, right? You're a comedian for a living. You got a killer podcast, but yet you're watching my videos. So when you do go to buy a house, you're going to be way more educated than what the standard person is. And you might ask questions like, you know, what kind of insulation are we using here? What can I expect for my blower door score? You know, and if you came into
I'll come in with the goggles to see the radiant temperatures.
I mean, that, if
the
you
the thermal goggles.
if you came in with that, they'd be like, "Excuse me, sir, what are you doing here?" You would see massive problems in a kind of standard construction house. But if we got more and more people coming in and saying, "Hey, what could I expect for my blower door score from you XYZ builders?" They'd be like, "Well, we don't do that." Well, why don't you do that? It's not that expensive. It's not that hard. You know, I want to make sure that not only does my house meet code, but I'd like to exceed what code is. Code is the worst legal house you can build.
Right.
You can't build any worse than that. It's barely legal to build that. So why can't we build to a higher standard than that? Right?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
I mean, you go when you buy your new Camry, you see what the miles per gallon is. You may or may not decide you're going to buy a Kia or a Toyota based on that. But you like to know, right?
What is the number one thing you see as just like, I can't believe they did that?
It's the cardboard sheathing that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
And that's just because it could mold and like, what's the biggest issue with cardboard sheathing?
Well, several reasons. You know, even with the smallest amount of wind and severe weather, those are the houses that do terrible. And you know, we had a tornado touchdown in Austin not long ago, and it just ripped through a neighborhood and did tons of damage. And it shouldn't have done anything to those houses. Had they been built like I build houses, they would be totally fine. There wouldn't have been issues with them. It's just
So it makes it just safer.
it's a
and
lot
better
safer.
building. So I didn't know this till this morning, but you built our Lord and Savior Joe Rogan's house, or you were involved in that. Is there any cool tidbits you could say about? Obviously, we don't want to say where he lives, but everyone knows he moved to Austin.
He moves to Austin. So I didn't build for him. I rebuilt for the previous owner, and then they sold it to Joe. It's a killer house, man. It's an absolutely killer house.
What's just a cool feature that he has? And he
So much.
openly talks about how he has fuck you money and does shit like that. So you're not like blowing up his spot by doing this.
Yeah,
he talks
no,
about
he's
how
got
super cars. And,
He's got plenty of money,
Yeah.
for sure. You know, one of the cool features about that is it's been fun to see on his Instagram feed that he turned the guest house into his gym. And so it's really fun to see photos of him on Instagram and be like, oh man, that still looks awesome. He did this really cool, or for the previous owner, we did this really cool detached, I don't know what you call it, granny flat or basically guest house. And I don't know if he's
guest house is probably bigger than most people's regular houses.
It's not that big,
No, not
actually. It's
crazy.
probably 800 square feet.
Okay, not bad at all.
It's pretty small.
Yeah.
I think it's his home gym now, though. And it's a super cool little space. It's really cool.
That's really cool.
But his master bedroom, master bath, master closet area is spectacular. I'm sure that helps sell the house.
Would you trade your house for his if you could? Because you put in a lot of work into your house. You love your house.
I don't think I could afford to live there, to be honest. I mean, the upkeep and the maintenance on his property alone is probably more than I spend on my taxes and my my monthly
You got
costs.
100 mil. Do you make more money from contracting or from your YouTube?
More from YouTube.
That's pretty cool. So
Yeah.
it's almost like your other business is feeding the YouTube now,
sure.
and not the other way around.
Yeah, we're not
It's
that
funny how
big.
you originally built it though.
Yeah.
for the other way.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. At what point did it switch like that?
When I started my website is really when things went awesome.
The Build Show website.
Yeah, buildshownetwork.com
Network,
is my website. We're a YouTube competitor now. And I actually have more watch time on my website.
On that website, you host them not through YouTube.
Correct.
Because it's a paid platform where you join.
That's right.
Got it.
I pay Verizon to host my videos. And what's cool about it is it's a whole, so like on YouTube, I have the Build Show on YouTube, which is just youtube.com/Matt Reisinger.
So that's just the free stuff. If
That's
I join
free.
this stuff, I'd have content forever to watch.
Right, exactly. Well, everything I do is free. I don't charge any, there's no paywalls anywhere in anything I do.
Oh,
Everything's
not even on
free.
the Build Show network?
No.
Okay, got it.
Totally free. But we, just like YouTube puts out a 30-second ad, let's say, and they contract with McDonald's or Ford or Liquid Death to do an ad before my videos, and they send me like 2 or 3 cents of the dollar they make on that. I have a 15-second ad in front of the videos that are on my website. And my videos are both hosted on YouTube and hosted there, but I've also got 12 other people shooting videos.
Got it.
Contractors and tradesmen on BuildShowNetwork.com.
But you see enough traffic on your website to make it worthwhile to host them yourself.
We're over 2 million views a month now on my website.
Wow. And is that just from people searching you on Google? How do they?
That's a lot of it.
Because for me, I'm already subscribed on YouTube.
Yep.
So it doesn't make that much sense for me, but it's just another way for people to find you, basically.
Yes, but I've
website.
also got 12 people besides me shooting videos, and they're not on YouTube. They're only on my website.
They're only on the website. Okay.
So
that
if
makes
you
more sense.
watch me in a video with, let's say, this architect, Steve Basic, that I use a lot, Steve might be in a video with me on YouTube, and at the end of the video, I'll say, hey, guys, go watch
to the
Steve's
website.
other videos. He's publishing 1 new video a week on buildshownetwork.com. That's the only place you
Now,
can watch
you've
that.
obviously already thought about this, but from my perspective listening to this, it's like, why not put those all on YouTube and tap into that audience too and get the YouTube money, even if it is less?
Well, the deal is I have a sales team that sells ads in front of those videos. And now instead of YouTube paying me 2
cents, you get
cents,
15 cents.
I make the other 98 cents as
Right.
well. And we don't break into the videos with ads like YouTube does.
Right. So it's better for the consumer as well.
Better for the consumer.
I wrote down a lot of questions. We'll see how
Man,
many
you
we can get
did. Look
through.
at you. I love
Have
it.
you seen the movie Smart House on Disney Channel?
No, I haven't.
Do you ever get hired to build houses for Playboy millionaires just to like cheat on their wives and stuff? Have you ever built just like a weird pet project where you're like, what are we doing here?
No, I'm really thankful that I haven't, because that would be awkward. That would be really awkward. And funny enough, like here's a side story on that. I'm a strong believer in Jesus, and I have.
So you would just not even do that
I
then?
wouldn't do it.
But what if you're already hired, you're halfway through the build, and then you find out? Sometimes out of your control.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. I wouldn't, I don't vet my clients based on their lifestyle or their ethics. I mean, it is what it is. But I did get an awkward question at the gym recently. I
Okay.
do CrossFit. I just started CrossFit a couple years ago. I'm not an athlete, but I'm later in life. I was like, I shouldn't be as fat as I am, so I joined
I'm feeling that.
CrossFit.
We're starting to feel that right now.
I know you go to the gym every day,
I
and I've
wish.
heard that your girlfriend tells you to go to the gym, which you
That part's true.
which you appreciate.
Yeah.
And you obviously tell her to go to the gym too, right?
She needs to. Yeah, it's a requirement.
She's watching right now, I'm sure, right?
Jesus wants people to have good bodies.
He does.
I'm sure of
it's
that.
your temple. So a bunch of the guys at my gym know that I'm a believer in Jesus, and I don't swear. It's not like I wear it on my sleeve, but I don't talk necessarily in the same format as some of the guys at the gym do. And recently, I had this awkward question: what happens if you have to build a sex room?
Oh, good question. Like, they've some people are in the sex dungeons now, but if you're married, isn't that fine to do?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you're allowed to have sex dungeons if you love Jesus.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. I personally don't have one.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
there'd be no restriction for me having one.
Good.
I've been married 22 years, by the way.
I want one, but I don't want to do it now because I feel like if you have a sex dungeon, you can't really go past that. In your
like
life.
what's next?
Yeah, what's
Beyond
next? So
that?
it's like save that till where you're really bored. and
Yeah,
you need a
makes
sex dungeon.
sense.
That's what I say. Get a sex dungeon when you're a senior citizen.
Man, that's really good advice.
Thank you.
I hope you guys are listening to this. This is therapy right here. This is where you get the unlicensed therapy.
Is there anyone that you know of who builds houses better than you, who you look up to? Because I look at you as like that guy. If I wish he was in California and I had money, because then I'd hire him to build a house. But is there anyone where you're like, no, if you have money, hire this guy?
I could
He's
name
legit.
100 people. There's some phenomenal builders in America, and most of them don't have YouTube channels.
Right.
Most of them aren't on social media. And in fact, a lot of my clients specifically say, please don't do anything on social media or videos of my house. I've built several houses that I can't
but that's
showcase.
probably why they hire you as well. So they're like, we're hiring you because of it, but don't do it for ours.
And also, I've lost jobs because of that, because I don't even get in the picture, because they're like, oh, dude, we're not going to build to that guy. He's going to put a bunch of
But I
pictures
bet you've
of my
gained
house.
more than you've lost.
100%.
Yeah.
But to my point, I could name 10 builders in Austin that I would personally build my house with that are phenomenal builders.
Good to know.
And almost any city in America that I've visited and been there for videos, I found builders that I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's incredible.
Okay, so
if I ever
build a
move
house,
to
I could text
Bozeman,
you.
Montana,
Yeah.
I'm hiring this guy.
So I'm going to text you before I hire a contractor.
Please
one
do.
day.
You got my
And
number.
You do remodels and stuff too, right?
I love remodeling. I learned
That's what
a
you did for your
ton.
house.
So, well, sort of. I started my house as a remodel. Do you know who Matt Carricker is? Have you ever seen the YouTube channel Demolition Ranch?
I've heard of it,
10
but-
million
yeah, okay.
subs on YouTube. He's killing it. And he's got an Off the Ranch channel. And he had this super popular video series called I Bought an Abandoned Mansion.
Oh, yes, I've seen this.
Okay,
Yes, yeah.
so this YouTuber who has a giant following buys this abandoned house that had been started construction.
Really cool. And it was like a cheap mansion, right? It was kind of like built really badly.
Yes.
Goes to what you were saying. You'd rather have a small house that's built nice than a cheap mansion. Yeah.
100%, because there's cheap mansions being built everywhere in America. The Mick
I
mansion.
think my parents have one.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
You don't want one. Trust me.
But, you know, if I'm being honest, in Southern California, where the weather is perfect,
Yeah. I mean,
I might go
some
for the
truth
cheap
to that.
mansion because it's like insulation doesn't matter that
It
much.
doesn't.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. As long as your health is healthy and doesn't have active water leaks, you're fine.
Right.
You're totally fine. But so this guy, Matt, rebuilds this mansion. And at the same time, I had bought this house across the street from my current house and was going to remodel it. And I was going to use it as a rental. Like, I didn't think I was going to move in. And so I'm taking the house apart and I'm realizing, oh my gosh, there was rats everywhere in this house. Like, I demoed the kitchen and I took the cabinets out and realized rats had chewed into and were living in this woman's dishwasher. She'd been my neighbor for 10 years, 12 years. I had no idea. She was living in absolute filth. And rats in the dishwasher, dead rats in all the cabinets. I go up in the attic and was there with a buddy of mine and was like, hey, let's check out the ductwork and see. He's like, what? Oh my gosh. He takes off this section of duct and there's rat poop in all the ductwork. Like, rats were running in her ducts while she was living there.
When you saw that, were you like, I'm going to pull everything into the studs, or?
100%.
Yeah.
So then I ripped everything down to the studs. And then my frame carpenter, this guy, Bill, who's been in a bunch of my videos, he's been a carpenter for his whole life. He gets there and he's like, Matt, are you freaking kidding me? We can't remodel this. This is a piece of crap. You got to tear this down and build a new house.
So that's what you ended up doing?
So that's what I ended up doing. So I left the concrete slab. You know, the
Okay.
base is still there.
Yeah.
But
That's
everything
it.
else is new.
So not even studs. You reframed it. So did you redesign it, or did you build it how it was? Kinda.
I put a timeout on the permits and I changed it slightly because at that point I was like, well, I'm going to move in here if we're going to do this. So the house was going to be like 2,500 square feet. And I was like, I should make it a little bigger. Like, I should add a separate bathroom for my daughter. She's not going to share the hall bath with my boys. So I added
You
like
made some modifications.
I've added 200 square feet
Gotcha.
and made a few mods.
And when you realized, because originally when you bought it, you didn't know you were going to have to do all this, it sounds like. But although, shouldn't you have done an inspection to where you knew at least you were going to have to pull down to the studs?
I
before
should have
buying
done
this
that,
house?
yes.
As
but
a contractor,
but I
you would
knew-
know. You should be the one to know.
I should have known. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Well, there's two things. Number one, this woman is very private and didn't want me in the house. It was kind of like, hey, you buy it as is, where is, or we're not,
Got it.
or I'm not doing
So
this.
you got
deal.
a little bit of a deal, but then when you found out you had to tear it down, you're probably like, I got ripped off.
Well, I didn't. Yes and no. I mean, look, she's a single mom. She was retirement age. I paid what market was for it, which was fine. So she got a deal and I got a deal.
Gotcha.
But she also had a junkyard dog that I was incredibly scared of that looked like it was going to rip me to shreds every time I came to the door.
You must have loved that location then. If you're
I
like,
did-
I want it.
It was literally
Yeah.
across the street from my other house.
Got it.
I mean,
Okay.
how much
Perfect
better of a location?
Yeah. Did you? No, I don't want to get into like your money. That's pretty private. But like,
Ask me, dude. I'm an open book.
Okay,
you
from-
can ask me whatever you want.
From this YouTube series of remodeling this house, did that pay for the house?
Oh yeah, 100%.
From just I'm not talking obviously your whole YouTube channel. I mean just for that house.
Well, it's kind of weird because I've blown up on my team that does videos. And a couple years ago, I was like, look, this YouTube thing's awesome, but like, I think this could be a bigger deal. And at the same time, I was thinking, gosh, I'm getting older. Like, I'm turning 50 in 2 weeks.
You look
Like,
great.
I could, thank you. I could get hit by a bus. I could have a heart attack. I want to make sure this is like not just the Matt Reisinger show. And so that's when I started going down the path of starting this website and bringing other people on for it. So, you know, we've started our own version of YouTube, really.
Right.
And now I've got all these other people that I'm still kind of the most watch time, but I got several people that are like
Doing pretty good.
doing just a little under me. And at some point in the next 5 years, I'm hoping that some of them are bigger than me, and I'll be able to step back in the kind of 10-year.
But then you won't get all the fame and recognition.
I don't need the fame or recognition. I just want to change how houses are built in America. And I've got a dozen other people now, and I think I've got room for 24 to be able to take that same message. And what's cool is it's not about me. It's about building better houses, houses that are healthier, houses that are durable, houses that are going to hold their value. They're going to have less maintenance. They're going to be really comfortable. How awesome would it be if you build a house, Ari, when you make it big on, in the comedy scene? You're the next Jerry Seinfeld. You kind of look like Jerry, frankly. Your
Jews,
comedy's
both Jews.
You're both Jews. I mean, Jesus was a Jew. I love my Jew. I just finished reading the Torah, by the way.
Damn, that sounds boring.
Start to
But
finish, it was awesome.
That's great.
It's
Okay,
God's
good.
story,
I'm glad you
dude.
liked
It's
it.
amazing.
I would want to read maybe a summarized version or someone who rewrote it.
No, you should read the whole thing, dude.
The original?
The
That
OG.
sounds hard. I don't have that good of a vocabulary. That
Well,
sounds...
what you need to do, though, is what I did, where you have someone at the end of that reading for the day tell you what you just read.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I want.
So
Yeah.
it's another podcast that's called The Bible Recap. And this lady, Tara Lee Cobble, will tell you, okay, here's for the entire Torah, what we call the Old Testament for the
Does
Christians.
she do the New Testament too? I don't want to read both.
She reads both.
Okay,
She,
yeah.
Well, she does both. So you read Genesis 1 and 2, and then she goes, all right, guys, here's what we just read, and here's how you can understand it. And here's this weird passage that talks about X, Y, and Z. Here's how you can understand that.
I think I'd skip to her summary and skip the part where I read it. I trust her. I don't need her. I don't need to verify what she's saying is true. I'll
Come
skip
on
to her
now.
summary.
That's
better than most people. If I
That is
listen to her
better than
summary,
most people. That's true.
What were we talking about before? Oh, you built the Build Show Network. So that's kind of taken over your life.
It's been awesome.
That's the future for
It's
you.
been awesome,
Yeah.
for sure. And I'm always going to be a contractor. I'm always going to have a few projects going on because I
Sure.
love it.
Yeah,
I
even
love-
if it's donation for the church or something like that.
100%. It's fantastic.
What technologies and houses are you most excited about for the future? Because I see you going over these new products that kind of either aren't like when you just did a video on European windows that aren't really available here, but you love them so much that you bring them in.
Yeah. Yeah. And a fresh air system from Switzerland that I love too, that I'm putting in all my houses now. The Europeans are ahead of us because they've had a mentality of,
Quality.
hey, my grandchildren are going to live here, so I want to make sure I don't screw this up. Right. So like when I visited Germany a couple years ago, I went to the roofing supply house, and there's not a single asphalt shingle to be found. And when it comes to the gutter section, all they have is copper. And copper is
What do we use? Tin?
well, we use some type
same
of
thing.
crappy steel, basically,
Got
that's going to fall off the house in a few years. In Europe, they're like, well, why would I put a roof on that's not going to last 100 years?
Right.
Like, I would never put a roof on that I'm going to have to replace in 20 years. In America, we're like, what's the cheapest option I can
For
put
now.
on because I might have to move in a year?
Right. This is something I'm selling in 10 years when it goes up.
Or 5 years, or 2
right.
years. Or I might get transferred to Chicago in 6
So
months.
you're taking a lot of their stuff because you know it's better, and you're probably paying a big premium for it because you have to import it.
Sometimes, not always.
Okay. So what of those things are you most excited about that you're like, this is the future of housing? This is going to be on every house one day.
I think if I could boil it down, I would say build tight, ventilate right. You know, we've got the technology to build submarines and space shuttles, and we can apply that same technology to houses, and yet we don't. And so all we need to do is build tighter houses, but make sure that we ventilate them correctly. If we do that, we can have more comfortable houses, we can have more durable houses, and we can have houses that have better health for the occupants.
Now, let's say hypothetically speaking, you built really tight, but it didn't ventilate really properly. What would happen then?
Problems happen. Moisture can build up in that house. We can activate mold growth. We can activate microbial growth. Lots of problems.
So that's
happen.
the one advantage to not building tight.
Correct.
You don't need a Ventilite as well.
Well,
you don't need a big ventilation
yes
machine.
And no. The problem, though, is most people have allergies, have childhood asthma going on in their household, and they don't know where that comes from.
If you believe in those things.
If you believe in this,
Yeah.
you're not a.
I don't believe in asthma or allergies.
There's no. Okay,
yeah,
good.
fight through it. Be a man.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
So no allergy pills for you whatsoever.
No.
Of course, you're in California.
I sneeze and let it sneeze. Let it ride. I ride it out.
Okay, I'm not sure what to say about that.
No,
you totally stumped the chump on this one.
No, I do recognize some people have allergies and asthma, very few. But I think all I'm saying is there's a lot of people who are like, I have asthma. And you're like, no, you don't. Go run a mile.
Of course, you are well known as Superman. Like you've never broken a bone in your whole body, right?
No. I mean, okay.
You're pretty incredible, Ari. I mean, there are not many people that have the physique.
Yeah, people
that you
haven't
do.
caught up yet. They think I'm lying about this stuff, but yeah, I'm a little bit superhuman.
You really are. It's pretty incredible.
Thank you for
and meeting you in
that.
person, I got to say that
Yeah,
aura is intact for me.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
really true.
I'm surprised you were willing to do my podcast now knowing you're like a man of God and you're this good family man. You must have looked at it like, should I do this?
No,
Yeah.
no. Not at all. Not at all.
Okay,
I was
good.
like, he must be a Jew. We're absolutely kindred spirits.
Okay, good.
Especially after finishing the Torah too, because I could.
Oh yeah, now you feel even closer to
I
the
do
Jews.
feel closer.
Yeah,
for sure.
You're more Jewish than I am. It sounds like you've heard
I
the
mean,
Torah.
I don't
know
think
anything.
so. I'm pretty sure my Romanian heritage is not any. I don't have any Jewish blood in me whatsoever.
Yeah,
However,
blood-wise, you're
the
not.
Goyim have been adopted into God's family. If you read the Bible, through Jesus, because prior to Jesus, there was no adoption into the family, right? So it's a pretty big deal.
Wait, you're
That's
saying
why the
prior to
Goyim love
Jesus-
Jesus.
Prior to Jesus, Jews didn't allow outsiders in the family. And you're
Right.
saying because Jesus kind of spread the message, welcome everyone, be good to
Exactly.
everyone. Yes,
That's right.
I don't know much, but I know
But
the
you know
basics.
that.
I know the basics.
Yeah. I love it.
Do you see housing material going back down because it went up a lot during COVID, right? How much?
has.
How much has it gone up?
It went up ridiculously, but it's gone back down. And I suspect
already
that we're
gone back
going to
down.
see some reversal in some commodity prices. Lumber is a great one. You know, when
Has lumber gone down?
lumber has gone down, and I suspect that we're going to see more lumber drops. We're going to see less big production builder starts. And I think that's going to roll back some of the commodities, not all of them, but some of them. Like when COVID hit, a bunch of manufacturers were still in that kind of 08 to 2011 mindset, like, oh my gosh, I better lay people off and shut these plants down. And so they did that. They stopped making plywood products and a bunch of products. And all of a sudden, the market didn't go down. It went the opposite way. People were like, oh, I got money. I'm going to spend it.
So the people who didn't lay people off and shut down their company probably excelled and did really well.
Record profits for some of those companies.
Yeah.
But the problem is a bunch of mills shut down, a bunch of people got laid off, and you don't just like all of a sudden go back to work and start at full capacity the next day.
Right.
So it took months and months for them to get back online. Meanwhile, triple or double the amount of demand for those products. So all of a sudden, there's just scarce resources, and when there's scarce resources, prices go crazy.
up, yeah.
It's a commodity.
And then so now as things are catching up, getting back to normal, now is when the housing market is actually dipping a little bit.
Correct.
So they kind of screwed themselves maybe a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
But that's just life. Every 10, 15 years, things fluctuate.
Things fluctuate. And I don't think you can time. I'm not a big believer in timing markets. Like I have stocks that I've had for 20 years in my 401k and they've gone up and down. I just leave them in there.
Yeah,
I'm not going to try and time the market.
You're not supposed to. It's an investment. It's not supposed to be the money you rely on. So let it do its thing.
And real estate is the same way. Buy a house when you're ready to buy a house. If you were married and your wife is pregnant, buy a house.
Right.
I mean, you need the space, just do it. Who cares what the market's doing? But I would suggest buying the house that you plan on living in for some period of time. Because if you buy a house knowing you're going to move in 2 years, you may be wrong. You may time it wrong. But if, like I did, I lived in my house for 15 years before I sold it and moved across the street, I did great in that house.
Yeah, made money
because the
on it,
market went
everything's
way
good.
down and then the market went way up.
I'm getting tired of just paying some random guy money to live in his house. I want my own house.
Yeah,
One
you
day.
need one.
But
We're going to build you one, Ari.
yeah. I was looking at Austin. Austin's literally over half the price of here.
Is that right?
Like you can get, I mean, you know the market better than me,
True.
but in Austin, it looks like you get a decent house for around $500,000.
Oh my gosh, you
Is
can get a
like-
great house for that.
Yeah, but that's about the starting point, right? Like 300 is the cheapest, but that's
Yeah.
kind of, you wouldn't want that.
Yep.
Around $500,000 is where it starts here. Really, you need to spend over $1 million to get any
Oh my
sort of
gosh,
normal house.
really?
Yeah, because yeah, in LA, $500,000 maybe will get you a studio, a one-bedroom condo, maybe, and even then it'll be cheap and shitty.
Well, we can give you a 1/4 acre lot with a decent sized house in Texas
there's
for that.
ponds in the backyard. They got all sorts of cool stuff.
That's a reason why Texas has still grown and is still exploding because there's tons of land.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. California sucks. I mean, it's good, but the weather is great, but that's about it.
I love California because you guys moved to Texas and built houses with me, so I'm a huge California fan.
Yeah, you look.
I love
Keep coming.
California.
Let me see.
We've had a pretty big California influx into Texas over the last 2 or 3 years. It's been
COVID,
awesome.
One of the biggest booms. How would you compare construction in California to Texas? Is there any difference?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in general, I do feel like California is about a decade behind construction in other places. And part of it is, like you said earlier, the weather in California here is just not that extreme, right?
It also seems like the type of place where everything, at least LA, things are done the cheapest they possibly can, because that's all people care about is like, I'm leaving in 5 years, whatever, I'm going to build this. And
That's the same everywhere, though, right? If you go to the suburbs of Texas, you can buy a super cheaply built, not very good house. I think
I have
the
a
same
house
is true
in
everywhere.
Mesquite. Me and my brothers bought a house right outside of Dallas, in Mesquite, Texas.
Do you
It was-
really?
Yeah, it was. We bought it a couple years before COVID, so we're up on it. And
That's fantastic.
yeah, I've visited once, so I have nothing.
Is it
to
a
do
rental
with
house
it.
or
Yeah,
what
it's
is
a
it?
rental. We rented
Okay,
it out. Yeah.
good for you.
Thank
So you own Texas
I own
property.
a third of a house in Texas, and I built my construction background during the quarantine. I built a camper van.
Did you really?
Yeah,
You
built a
built
camper-
out a camper van?
Built out a camper. It took me 2
Come
years.
on.
I did it part-time. Took me 2 years to finish. Still not really finished, but almost done.
That's
it's like
impressive.
95% finished. I insulated it. Used Thinsulate, which I don't think
Yeah,
they use
yeah.
in houses.
Yeah, I know what that is for sure.
I don't even know what it is.
It's like a
equivalent to.
clothing insulation.
But it's different because Thinsulate is one of those ones where, because I was doing a lot of insulation research, and apparently most van people don't use house insulation because it's toxic or something, or it has toxic chemicals that I don't really know. It could be a bunch of bullshit.
Probably
But,
is.
Yeah, but the two best insulations for vans from the research I've done from all the YouTube van videos is Thinsulate, which is waterproof. The nice thing about Thinsulate is that you can get it wet and while no mold grows.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then the sheep's wool.
I've seen the wool insulation.
Yeah.
Those are pretty sick.
Do they ever do that in houses?
I do have I have a manufacturer that makes a wool insulation that's been trying to get me to use it in a house, and they sent me a sample of it, like a big. I was like, I gotta
Yeah,
see
it's like
this.
a big fluffy pad.
They sent me a big fluffy bat, and the UPS guy dropped it off. I was like, what the heck is this? Open up the box. It was like a huge
Apparently
bundle
it's,
of insulation.
no mold or hard to mold, fire resistant, mite resistant. Seems good. But
I was
then
impressed.
I was watching your Rockwool video and I was like, that seems to have everything as well.
Rockwool is pretty incredible, and it's probably a third less costly than sheep's wool. So if you're building a house, Ari, and you have plenty of money, I would definitely do the sheep's wool. If you're like, money's no object, I want the healthiest option.
And then and then the Rockwool factory also appeared to be pretty green.
It really is.
But then I guess
you watched my Rockwool factory tour. Well done,
dude,
sir.
I watched most of. I'm not going to say I watched all of them, but I've watched you for hours. Big fan.
I've
Yeah.
put a lot of Rockwool, and it's a great product.
And also, it's like I like paying attention to your videos, but I also like your videos on in the background. Like it's good background videos.
Fantastic.
Because
I
it's just
love it.
kind of like, I don't know.
You feel manlier watching my videos?
I feel so much manlier watching your videos. That's one of the big. If you are feeling like a little bitch,
Have you
watch
found that
Matt's
your
videos.
testosterone levels go up after watching my videos in the background for a while?
10% they've gone up.
Wow, 10%. We need to write that down. I need to make sure that my team puts that in our next media brochure.
Do your kids and family think what you do is cool, or are they like, dad's such a nerd, look at him nerding out about houses? Like, because I feel like every kid thinks their parents are lame, but what you do is so cool. What do your kids think
It's
about it?
both. They think the YouTube thing is cool.
Okay.
So I just got my gold play button. And my kids were thrilled about that.
Yeah, because
But
they
yet-
see their favorite YouTubers with those things. Yeah.
Exactly, because my kids don't watch any TV. They don't watch. If Tom Cruise walked in the house, they'd be like, "Who the heck's this guy?" They would have no idea.
That's
They don't
wild.
know anybody in the
That's so
movies.
wild.
They don't know
Scientologist.
They've never watched Netflix. That's right. I'd love to meet him so that I can tell him about Jesus.
Met him, yeah. I don't think he wants to hear that.
No, well,
No,
when
no.
you see him next, tell him to come on over.
Yeah.
I'll be glad to give
He's
him a
probably
tour.
heard about Jesus. I'm sure he's familiar with Jesus.
I bet he's a Build Show fan, don't you think? Because he
Everyone's a
needs a
Build Show fan.
testosterone boost.
It is. I know you said it as a joke, but there's probably some major celebrities that watch the Build Show and you don't even know about it.
You think so?
Definitely. It's a huge channel.
That's hilarious.
It's really good. You'd probably meet someone, they're like a big fan of yours and you're like, what?
What?
Denzel Washington? You're a big fan of mine?
Jerry Seinfeld's watching the Build
totally.
Show?
Maybe Joe Rogan. Maybe
You
he
never
knows
know.
who it is.
You never know.
So
It
they
could
think it's
happen.
cool. The YouTube part, at least, they think it's cool. And I'll
That's
make
the
sure
only
to get
part
you
that I
out of
think
here.
is cool.
9:30 the latest.
No, we're fine.
Okay. Would you travel for the right house job? Like you mostly work in Austin. Let's say I was building a house in California. What would it take to get you to come out to LA for 6 months to work on my house?
You'd have to come with giant buckets of money that
Nice.
were literally overflowing. No, I wouldn't.
Yeah,
do
it's
it.
probably better where you're just like, here's a guy in LA. He's great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I know lots of good California builders. I would refer you on. I wouldn't do it.
Do you try to go green? I mean, I know the Rockwell video, they're pretty green. Is that something you're conscious of? I know technology is important and it's kind of, it is going green a little bit when you make your house energy efficient. That is
Yeah.
going green, solar and all that stuff. But are there materials where you're like, I don't want to use that. That's toxic. Things like that, or that's not as much your concern.
No, I think indoor health is a huge concern, and so I think about it a lot. But I don't use the term green much anymore.
Or I'm not talking about indoor health. I'm talking about environmental health.
Yes and no. I always feel like if you do the right thing for you and your family, you're probably doing the right thing for the environment at the same time, with a few exceptions.
Right.
I don't drive an electric truck because they don't make one that works for my lifestyle and my
Maybe the
family yet.
Cybertruck when it comes out. Elon Musk is an Austin boy now.
Made in Austin, Texas,
Yeah.
or soon to be made in Austin, Texas. I think they're amazing, but we're way behind in the infrastructure that we need to actually make that a legitimate truck that I could use for more than just 60% of my life. If I want to get to the full 100% of my life, or I'm pulling my RV, I'm going on road trips, we need way more infrastructure than we have today.
It's getting there. It's
getting there.
It'll be there, I think.
But we got to invest big time if we're going to make that happen.
I think it's happening. The Tesla. I have a regular hybrid. I have the Ford Maverick. It's like a hybrid little truck.
Yeah.
But my girlfriend just got a Model 3 Tesla, and it's annoying because instead of stopping for gas, you got to stop at a supercharger and wait 20 minutes. But it is. We drove to Vegas. We drove to Phoenix in it. It's like
You drove to Vegas in it. That's impressive.
Yeah, you can get I think you get across the whole country. There's enough charges, so
Wow.
it's getting. You may be surprised. You might be.
Maybe
Elon
I'm-
Musk might be a fan of yours. He might throw you a Cybertruck, and you might change your mind.
Maybe. We actually have a electric Silverado on order. I'm on the. I spent the $100 to get on the pre-order
Guys,
list.
you're gonna give it a shot.
We have 8 or 9 trucks in my company, and I feel like at least 1 or 2 electric would be awesome because it's a perfect go-getter truck. Like
Right.
I have a job that's kind of an out-of-town job. It's 45 minutes from my office, and I have a big diesel. I have 4 kids. I pull an RV.
Right.
I have a big diesel. I'd love to just leave my diesel parked at the office, grab the office electric truck, and
Take
that
that out
package
there.
that I need to deliver to the job site. Drive it the 45
For
minutes
free.
and back
Yeah.
for free, plug it back in, and the next person who needs to go out there takes the electric truck.
You were saying earlier that you do high-end jobs mostly, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense because you do high-end building techniques. What if someone wanted to hire you to do a low-end job, maybe a bunch of them? Would you still take on that kind
I
of work?
totally would.
Got it.
Yeah, I
Okay.
totally would.
But you'd probably do it kind of like the guy who's doing it 45 minutes out, where you're doing low end, but try and make it nicer than the normal low end.
I would, and I've done actually several what I would call modest price point houses. Like I did a house a couple years ago that was a $350,000 house, which I would consider a lower price point. Most of my houses are in the 1 to kind of 3 million range, so they're pretty pricey. So this was a $350K budget. It was only a 1,500 square foot house. We did it really, really interesting and really cool. And the price per square foot was way up there because it was a tiny house, right? It was like $300 and some a square foot, but yet it was a pretty
nice.
modest budget. And I love those kind of projects. I would love to do more of those.
Is there something that you would tell the average person to change in their house that maybe they could do themselves?
Yeah, I mean, I did a video a couple years ago of what would I do for $500, $1,500, and $3,000 or somewhere in that neighborhood. Like if you were going to spend a couple $100, couple $1,000 or $10,000, what would you do? And I would tell you that there's 3 or 4 things. The first thing I would do is upgrade the filtration on your HVAC system. You probably have a really crappy filter.
So that's just make the air quality better in the house.
For sure. So for about $500, you could put, let's say, an April Air pleated media filter in.
And you think it's that important to have good quality air in the house?
100%. I mean, you only have one place you breathe in through your nose, right? Your nose hair gets your boogers every day, and it's pre-filtering your air before it goes in your lungs.
And you're not the type that's like a worrywart, always going to the doctor.
No.
A George Costanza.
I'm definitely not a Costanza type. No, I'm more like you. I'm semi-indestructible.
Okay.
But I've got a daughter that has asthma, and she grew up in a room that had carpet in my old house. And I do wonder, like, gosh, if I would have made some changes at that house earlier, better filtration, removing carpet from her bedroom, I wonder if she might not have had that issue as a young kid, because I put her in a super dusty.
Right. You didn't know.
Environment. I didn't know any better. Had I done a few things differently in that house and spent a few $1,000s, I wonder if maybe her childhood asthma, allergy issues, if those would have gone away. And those were strictly by putting her into an environment that wasn't that good.
Good quality air filter for the house.
I mean, we're fish swimming in a fishbowl. And how much junk does it take to put into your fishbowl before all of a sudden you're like, oh, that poor fish is swimming around in all that garbage. That's us. This air,
especially in LA.
This air that we're breathing in this room right now is your fishbowl. And so if you just took a little bit of time to filter that fishbowl water, you could make a huge difference in the life of that fish.
Good.
Same with us.
Okay, that's a good tip then. Everyone get a nice air filter. Do you ever? I know you do homes. Do you ever do commercial builds?
No, I've only done one. I did a video studio one time. That was my only commercial build. That was really fun.
And so
we'll
fun.
build,
so you
so
would
we'll
do
build
more
your
of them.
podcast studio when you come to Austin.
Yeah, one day.
I mean, we'll make this like amazing. It'll have amazing indoor air
liking the
quality.
sound of it.
It'll be really well built.
They'll be quiet.
It'll be super quiet. You won't hear anything.
Yeah. So okay, so you're open to doing more commercial stuff. Right now, you mainly get hired for houses.
I only do residential pretty much.
But you would do commercial.
I might
now.
for the right project.
For the right thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, would you ever do a TV show? Because to me, you probably get more viewers than any. I've never heard of any building TV show. I know there exist.
I don't like TV shows.
No?
I mean, I grew up watching This Old House. You've ever seen that show before? It's an old PBS show that started in the 80s. They're now on 30 or 40 years. That's where Bob Vila got his start, if you remember the name Bob Vila. Amazing show because it actually showcased real builders. But I'm an anti-HGTV guy. Like every contractor I know absolutely hates the reality type TV shows. But you can make it cool. I don't think you could, man, because they're always looking for drama,
right?
And they're looking for cheap.
Got it. So
I mean, no offense to my friends Chip and Joanna who live up in Waco, but every time a contractor,
Waco, I just listened to a podcast on the Waco, the cult that was there.
Oh, it's crazy up there. The Koresh cult.
The Koresh cult. Yeah, that's
for sure.
Interesting story.
That's how people of my generation think of Waco. But people of your generation think of Waco because of the Silos, which is the Chip and Joanna theme park pretty much that's moved in there.
Check that out.
I mean, they have an incredible empire. They seem like they're great people. But contractors hate that show because they're like, oh, we did this for $2,500. You're like, what? I can't even show up for $2,500. My plumber won't even come to the job for $2,500.
And then you get calls and they're like, you're a ripoff. And you're like, I'm not a ripoff. Quit watching that TV show.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you probably make more from your YouTube than you would on a TV show.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I get to, the big thing though is I get to control it. Like I have a buddy, Brent Hull, that had a Discovery Channel show called Lone Star Rising. He did one season with Lone Star Rising on Discovery. And they made him do a bunch of weird projects he didn't want to do. Like he's a builder remodeler and he's really big into these old, beautiful craftsman projects. They made him restore a train and restore a boat.
And he's just like, oh, I signed up for the TV show. Okay, I got to do this.
He had to do it. And they paid him $7,000 an episode. So he made $40,000 or $50,000. It took him a whole year to film. He had no edit rights. So when he watched the 30-minute show, he's like, what? That was terrible. Yeah. And they wanted every show to have some drama. Like the homeowner needs to be pissed in this scene. So what kind of drama can we inject? No, that's not how it should be. You should enjoy the process.
See how it is. I would love to see you make a train or a boat or
No,
a
I'm not
van.
doing it.
Come on,
No
it's
dice.
so cool.
Sorry, Ari.
What your family could use it. You could build the coolest RV ever, and you could take your family on family trips.
I would like to do an RV. That is one thing. Like, I'm jealous that you did a van
I would love to
conversion.
see you, like this master house builder, like put that twist in the RV. Cause
I would like that.
No, I haven't really seen that be done. I've seen craftsmen, woodworkers do it, but not like house builders. Is there anything you nerd out on? Because I nerd out on van videos, house building. I learned out on reptiles, technology. What do you nerd out on YouTube?
Gosh, camera gear and
Okay, yeah,
anything
I'm with you there.
technology kind of in general. I mean, the Marquise Brownlee, the iJustine, all those channels.
Yeah.
I watch pretty much everything they publish.
Oh, cool.
Because I'm a big tech nerd.
Yeah.
I always like to know, should I get the new Apple Watch? Should I get the new camera? Should I get this new Sony? What about Panasonic? Is the Micro Four Thirds? Should I check out these Micro Four Thirds? I have a little Fuji old school looking 100F camera that's a rangefinder style digital camera. I love that camera, and I realized that I needed it by watching a YouTube video.
Very cool. Okay, so you nerd out on stuff.
Oh yeah,
And it may be influenced for your videos too.
for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Worst house job ever. Like maybe because, you're a nice guy, you do it right, but some customers are just horrible. And I have experience from the podcast rental business. I try to do everything right.
Yeah,
I'm a nice guy. I'm not crooked. I'm not stealing people's money. But every once in a while, this customer's like, "You're a ripoff. You're stealing from me. This isn't how you do it."
I've had a couple over the years.
Yeah. Do you have a one in mind?
I have several in mind, and I'm hesitant to tell many stories about them. But I can tell you what
You
I've
don't need
done.
to say names.
No, we definitely won't say any names. I've had one or two people that are very unsatisfiable clients. But the hardest jobs for me over the years have been the person who comes in and says something like, "I can't spend a dime over X, and I just need you to remodel the kitchen in this other area." And I had a project that I'm thinking of in particular that was just like that. And they're like, "I can't spend a dime over $1 million." And I told them from the start, look, you really need to spend like $2 million on this house to do it right and to do what you want. They're like, no, just tell me what I can do for that. Okay, great. Well, we can do this, this, and this. Their kitchen, master bath, blah, blah, blah. This is how we'll spend your $1 million. Okay, great, do it. And then we start, and like day 2, they're like, well, actually, you're right. We need to remodel that too. Add that to the budget. Add that to the budget. No, we need to do that too. And we ended up with a several $1 million project, but the entire process, they were pissed at me. Like, I told you at the beginning, we could only spend $1 million. I can't believe we're at $2 million. And they forget 100% that you tell them, look, this shouldn't be done for that. Like, it's really,
And also, I didn't do
really
that without
needs
your
this.
permission. It's not like I'm like, surprise, it's actually $2 million after it's done.
Exactly.
You got
exactly. But those are hard jobs when you just keep adding and adding, because no matter how well you estimate, you're going to be wrong on the estimate. And they always go back to what I told you to begin with, which is I can't spend a dime over X. And so what I've done as a company is we've tried to really vet those clients early. And honestly, don't tell anybody this, but I use a really onerous contract that's literally one-sided, because I want to know what a pain in the butt you're going to be by reading my contract. And if you're really like, no, I got to change, my attorney tells me I need you to change these 30 things on your contract, boom, that's my first red flag to go, you're going to be really difficult to work with.
Interesting. So you want someone who's just like, yep.
I mean, in some
I
respects,
trust you, but I could see.
I'm fine with you saying those things,
Yeah.
but if you won't listen to my, well, here's the reason why this, and this is in here,
Gotcha.
then you're probably not going to be a reasonable person to work with. And I can think of at least 2 times when someone did that and they came and just bled all over my contract. They didn't hire me. And then I heard later they were a terrible client and they
Right.
fired or sued that builder. I was like, oh, thank God I didn't do that job. I'm so thankful. It was so cool. I really wanted to do it, but I didn't do it because they dropped out in my kind of vetting process. And I heard later they were horrible.
Have you ever had someone that was so horrible that you're like, you know what, I'm going to pass this job on to another company?
A couple of times, but it's usually in the early process. And I don't pass it on to, I wouldn't pass it on to other contractors. I would just say, gosh, guys, I'm really sorry. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah, I took too much on.
I
Here's
can't
your money
do this.
back. Can't do it.
We've done that a couple of times. And it's usually in the pre-construction process.
Yeah.
But I'm different than most contractors because we actually get paid for our pre-construction. So early on, like if you came to me, Ari, and were like, hey, I want to build a house, I would give you a high-level estimate, because I want to make sure that you understand what it's going to cost to build what you're wanting. A lot of people are like, I use the shopping cart analogy a lot. Like if you go to the grocery store and you put nothing but T-bone steaks in your cart, it's going to be really expensive if there's no vegetables or rice in that cart, right? So I get a lot of people that are like, I need this T-bone steak and I need this and I need this. And they're like, what? That's $500 at the grocery store? You're crazy. That shopping cart shouldn't be more than $200. Well, I'm sorry, that's what it's going to be $500 to check out here at Kroger's. I'm sorry to tell you. Great. They go away, I go away, no problem. If they're like, okay, I think I understand that's more than I wanted. I only wanted to spend $200 on this grocery cart, but if you're telling me it's going to be $500, okay, I get it. Great. Let's move on. I'm going to be your contractor. I'm going to charge you hourly to estimate, and I need this deposit to do that. And then as your architect goes down the process of designing that, I'm going to bounce back and forth with you so I can give you an estimate of what that costs. Oh, you added a pool, you added a media room, now it's a 4-car garage instead of a 2-car. Here's what that's going to cost. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. So when the bids get back,
they're not shocked.
You're not like, what? I told you I couldn't spend over $1 million and this is 2. You're crazy. Wow. Are you trying to gouge me?
Half of your job's customer service, it sounds like.
100%.
Did you have any cool jobs before you worked in this business? What was your first job growing up?
My first job when I was 16 was Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese. Wow.
I was a Chuck E. Cheese employee. Actually, I liked it.
You get free pizza?
Free pizza, and we made our own pizza at night. I don't know that. I'm not sure that was legal, actually. I'm not sure the boss knew that I was making pizza. I made my own calzones there, which was not even on the menu.
Chuck E. Cheese calzone. I want
Chuck
that.
E. Cheese.
That'd be blow up on TikTok.
But here's the deal. I started when I was 16 as the dishwasher and worked my way up to game room attendant. That's the rise.
So you've always been a hustler.
I've been a hustler.
Yeah, you've always moved up.
And game room attendant is the top of the food chain.
Yeah, they
of
probably
Chuck E.
make
Cheese.
$1.50 more than the dishwasher.
I think it was actually the same pay, but the prestige of having the keys and
you don't have to clean dishes anymore.
No more dishes.
The job's better.
I know. I did every job at Chuck E. Cheese except for checkout. That was the only job I never did there.
You lucked out.
I was pretty legit. I was on the corporate chain.
Would you send your kids to a Chuck E. Cheese now?
100%.
See, to me, that talk about dirty air. Chuck E. Cheese has seemed dirty. Those ball pits, no, thank you.
But if you need your immune system to get a good shot to the arm to make sure that you don't get COVID or whatever,
or you try to get your sickness out of the way, I need to get a cold so I don't get a cold.
You should go to Chuck E. Cheese.
Go hang out at Chuck E. Cheese.
The ball pit.
What about pre-built homes, trailer homes? I went to this trailer park in Malibu that has an ocean view. I think each home was over $1 million for a trailer home, but it was nice. And inside it was this feels like a house. I could easily live here. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Some of those are really well built. And a quick plug for my trailer manufacturer, Lance Camper, which is a California brand. They're made down in Santa Monica. And they make a killer RV, dude. That's what I ended up buying.
That's why you're not going to buy an RV. You got a Lance.
I have a Lance, which is made in California by Californians. It's a really good camper.
Shout out to Lance. Send me one, please.
Yeah, they're awesome. You should definitely send Ari one. They're amazing. Ari, get the 2445 model. That's my favorite model.
That's
Lance.
it.
That's what I drive.
That sounds pretty nice. And then I'll have to get a new electric truck to tow it.
Yeah, you would. Although your mileage is going to drop like a stone with that electric truck, pulling your 6,000-pound camper.
What's the biggest job you've ever done? How expensive was a house? Have you ever done any mega mansions type stuff? Or I guess it could have been Joe Rogan's.
Just shy of $10 million is the biggest I've done to this point. And
that's a lot.
I don't want to do any more than that.
More. How come? Just too much?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not interested in being a celebrity builder or building for an Elon Musk style person. I have a guy who was one of my rising stars who was amazing and left me to go with this other builder that's a nationwide builder that builds for the billionaire type. It's a crazy hard job. Because you're never dealing with the owner. I don't get to sit down with you, Ari, who's building this house.
Right, because
they're
sit down
with your people.
Assistant. Yeah, totally.
I don't want to build for those people. No thanks. If you get mad at me because I did X, Y, and Z, great, we can have a conversation. You hold the purse string. I can take it. I'm a big boy. But if your person gets mad at me, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah. Let me talk to your leader.
Let me talk to your boss. Yeah. Put your boss in the room to yell at me. Don't yell at me on his behalf or her behalf.
Yeah, or you get an email and you can't even talk to them. You just get an angry email from them.
Angry emails are the worst, especially on Sundays, because they ruin the rest of your weekend. So be mad at me in person. Let's have a conversation.
not on the Lord's
Don't
Day.
text
not on
me.
The day of rest.
Well, really any day. But yeah, that too. But not on Sundays.
Have you ever caught a construction worker doing anything weird? Maybe stealing materials, hooking up with someone on the job site. What's like?
This is a long
Is
time
construction
ago.
worker the right term for someone who works on a house?
Yeah,
Okay,
construction
just making
worker.
Sure that's PC.
Early in my career, I found a guy dumping a dead deer carcass in my dumpster. And in hindsight,
And did he work on the job, or was it just a random person?
it was a random person.
Okay, that's not better, but maybe
after
better.
hours on my job site
Right.
with a plastic bag that I could see blood on. And in hindsight, I'm kind of like,
You just
wow.
happen to be there still?
I happen to be there still, and I like stop my truck, and I'm like, what is the deal with this plastic bag with blood in it, like a body?
You thought it was a human body for a second?
Well,
You're
I
like,
didn't know,
Yeah.
right? And at the time, I wasn't a hunter. I am now, so I didn't get it. But I stopped, and in hindsight, I'm like, what if that was a body? What if this was a serial killer? And what if he had a gun? But at the
Right.
time, I'm like 25.
He did have a gun, probably.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
He had to
Shot
have.
the deer.
So
Unless he
I'm
could've
like,
hit it
what
with
are you
his gun.
doing? Get that out of there. And I like start writing down his license number and my day timer. Tells you how long ago it was, my day timer. And he's like, whoa, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, dude, I'm going back to my trailer to call the police. There's no cell phones back then.
Yeah.
Any second now, you pull that deer out right now.
Get rid of the dead deer.
Put it back in your
Amazing.
pickup truck.
I thought of a product that I'd like to create with you and sell in all your houses. Do you get this a lot?
Oh, I like it.
You get this one? Okay.
No, I don't. All right, let's hear it.
Okay,
This sounds great.
This is something that every nice home is going to want.
Okay.
So what's something that has changed in the last decade? Everyone orders from Amazon, whether it's your groceries,
Totally.
your boxes. I get boxes shipped to my house every other day. I
Literally
come
every
home
day.
to a box. And, most places are pretty safe. I haven't had a huge problem with theft, but it does happen.
Happens
It's
a
growing.
lot.
It's growing. I want to see built-in containers that look nice, aesthetically pleasing in every house that you put the package in for the delivery driver to automatically locks behind them.
It's called your garage door. But you don't have a garage door right now, do you?
I don't have a garage door, so it needs it. And how does the delivery driver open and close the garage door?
So I have a LiftMaster garage door opener that's Amazon key enabled. And so when the Amazon
it, my
driver
invention's
comes,
already done.
he's got his, Amazon phone.
What if you
he
don't
presses
want
a button?
Some people don't want the driver to go in their garage. I keep
Yeah.
personal stuff in my garage.
That's true. That is a good
I just
point.
want a box for them to put it in. They don't
I like
deserve
that.
to
I
go
like
in.
this idea.
Because in my garage, I keep the house door unlocked. So that means they can go into my house if they want it. Some
Yeah.
of these, who steals packages more than anyone? Delivery drivers. So think about that. My idea is still there.
Oh man, you just lost the whole subset of your audience by disparaging delivery drivers, man. I'm sorry, Ari.
Delivery drivers, I'm not saying they all steal.
Who's the
but a lot of
famous delivery driver
steal.
for Casey Neistat? What is his name? He's the
Oh,
African American
I know, yeah,
guy.
I know who. I
drives
don't know
for
his name, but
UPS.
I've seen.
What is his name?
I
He's
forget, but
gonna
I've-
boycott the show, dude.
I'm not saying delivery drivers steal. I'm saying a lot of them do.
Wow.
I'm not saying all of them do.
But
I'm not
a
even
lot.
saying most.
Most do.
Not most.
I heard you say 90% of them
90%,
are thieves.
especially UPS. No, UPS is my no. But here's
Rick is my UPS driver, and I think Rick is the most honest guy I've ever met.
Some of them are. This is a true story. So you can see I have a lot of cameras in
Mm-hmm.
here, a lot of technology. Oh, you have to go. But when I was
Right.
building the studio, I had ordered all this stuff online,
Mm-hmm.
and I missed a couple things. Didn't get delivered, but they marked delivered, and they took a photo of it, and I was waiting at the house for them. So I know no one came on my porch and stole them. I know the driver took a camera, took two cameras, and it ended up being like $7,000 worth of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a lot of money, and
Yeah.
especially for me, it's a lot of money. That's
That's
a
a lot of money for
It's a lot of money for anybody, but
That's a lot
and
of
for
money.
me, it was even more. So I call Amazon, and I'm like, I'm not saying your driver took it, but I think your driver took it, or I don't know where it's missing.
What did
And
Amazon say?
So Amazon, if it's under $1,000 or a certain amount, they just refund you, no problem. It's not worth it for them. They're
Right.
like, refunded, we believe you.
What about 7,000?
If it's 7,000, they basically are like, screw you. We delivered it. We delivered it. Sorry, you lost it. File a police report. And then I did. I went through every step.
No
I called them. They were
way.
basically like, you're done. So I ended up having to call a lawyer and suing Amazon.
No way.
I got my money back, but
This
it
is
was
awesome.
probably 2 years after
Holy
it
cow.
happened. So That's where the
Number one, I'm shocked that you even were able to talk to anybody at Amazon. We got a package delivered the other day from Amazon that was a broken glass bottle that had syrup or something in it, and I couldn't find a number to call them, even though I'm a pretty good Googler.
Hunt. Yeah,
it was incredibly hard.
You have to hunt. You have to wait on hold. It was a nightmare. You're probably lucky you didn't have to talk to Amazon. But
even like the broken package report button is incredibly hard to find / non-existent. I ended up emailing the seller, because not everybody is actually Amazon,
right?
And I don't think we've gotten any resolution on that.
Yeah, I'm missing an eBay package right now. It happens. These are the modern white people problems.
Yes, they definitely are. That is definitely white people problems.
Yeah. It's like, oh, my stove
modern American problems anyways. I'm not sure that the other races are also experiencing their Amazon.
True, it's all race problems now.
Yes, for sure.
How come
first world problems is the correct term.
That's the more PC term.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
If I noticed like big high rise, nice commercial buildings, they use steel instead of wood for if you had $100 million, would you build your house with steel framing?
I'm still a wood guy, and actually,
do people do that in really high end homes?
Oh yeah,
they do.
Well, there's a lot of steel in high end homes. Like I was just visiting the Yellowstone Club, which is apparently like the super rich neighborhood of Yellowstone that a bunch of people are building super mansions in. All steel out there, but it's because they have earthquake issues, which I didn't realize.
Okay. Which we do out here too.
Which makes sense. Yeah. They build with steel. But I would tell you there's a huge resurgence in wood high-rise construction.
I've seen that. I've seen those videos. They're thicker wood beams, but it's like not full high-rises. It's like middle high-rises.
Well, you can build up to like, I want to say 20 stories.
Yeah.
And they use cross-laminated timber. You'll hear the term CLTs. I would totally build a CLT house. I love them.
Have you ever built a CLT house?
I have. I have one going right now with this company called Benson Wood, which is up in Connecticut, New Hampshire.
And that's just a normal 2-story house, but you're doing it with CLTs anyway, and it just makes it really strong.
Yes, it's awesome. And the cool thing about wood is, wood from the kind of green perspective, it's carbon sequestering, it's rapidly renewable, it's rapidly regrowing. I love it because it's God's building material, right?
That's true. How much more is a CLT than a normal? Is it twice as expensive?
No, it's hard to say because you're talking about a specific part and piece. But if you're comparing it to steel, it could be a pretty one-to-one comparison because steel fluctuates so much, right? It's a huge commodity. I suspect that those 20-story high-rises that are CLT maybe are a 5 or 10% bump in cost, and that's it.
But how much over a regular wood-framed house? A lot more.
Probably some higher percentage, not 50% more, but maybe 20, 25% more.
Crazy.
I really like wood framing though. I mean, it's the beauty of wood is that it was a living organism and you get all these additional benefits that, for instance, wood framed houses in America that have, plywood or shiplap walls, that wood will release and absorb moisture in the air. And the real wood that's not broken down can get wet and not decay as long as it can dry. Generally speaking, real wood won't mold up. It's the processed wood that does. Paper is the most common thing to grow mold on, and then behind paper, it's oriented strand board or OSB. Plywood, you almost never see mold growing on, and real studs, you almost never see mold growing on. The conditions have to be perfect for those. But even the slightest thing that's wrong, you can grow mold on paper, for instance.
Yeah.
So I really like wood. I'm a big fan.
Last question, is there anything in your life that I could help you with?
From the unlicensed therapy?
Therapist.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ari.
I'm really wise.
You are really wise. Sorry, I just got a crick in my leg here. I'm turning 50 in 2 weeks. Did I mention that?
You did.
I'd really like to know from your superhuman experience what I should be doing for my diet and exercise plan to make sure this next decade is going to be as good as the last
it's one
couple.
of those things that's so obvious, and we all know how to have a good diet, but we don't. It's just easier said than done. It's just eating clean.
Yeah.
No fast food, no over processed things. Try to limit your carbs.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are eating too much protein these days,
probably
including
true.
myself. It's just like every meal I have meat.
Yep.
And I'm like, because it fills me up. If I don't have meat, I'm like, if I just have lettuce and a salad, I'm like, okay, I'm still hungry.
What do I do next? What's my next part of this meal?
If you have the discipline to wait 40 minutes after your meal, and then you'll feel full still. So
that's a really good point.
It's just discipline. That's the hard part about dieting. Knowing what to eat. People are like, oh, I'm keto, I'm this, I'm that. That's too much. Just eat healthy.
Yes.
You
I
know what
agree.
healthy. You know what a meal is that's healthy, but it's easier said than done.
Yeah,
Because
that's for sure.
Right now, I'm craving a McDonald's breakfast sandwich.
You know,
Can't do it though.
I don't know. Is the Egg McMuffin that bad for you?
I think, yeah, it's filled with sodium, tons of salt.
True. That's true.
Carbs, cheese. It's not
true.
good.
Is cheese bad for
Meat.
you?
I think anything's okay in moderation.
Oh, that's a great one.
But yeah, like a cheese pizza, too much cheese.
Way too much cheese.
Yeah, we eat too much. We eat too much everything.
Yeah, that's probably
So it's
true.
like we need to be eating more fruits and vegetables as a meal, which is hard to do. When's the last time you just had a salad with light dressing and a little fruit and that's it? That was your whole meal.
Almost never.
Exactly.
Maybe once in my
sucks.
lifetime.
It sucks. But think about it. It's like that's what we're supposed to be eating. We're not supposed to be eating a cow carcass 2 times a day. We're not supposed to be eating a loaf of bread.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I got something that'll blow your mind as a Jew. If you read the Bible, when did meat eating come in on the Bible?
I have no idea.
Not until after sin entered the world, not after the original sin. So prior to the devil tempting Adam and Eve and them taking a bite of the apple and sin coming to the world, they were vegetarians.
I identify as a vegetarian. I eat meat because I love it.
Yeah.
But I hate the idea of killing animals. And that I still hunt, I still eat because it's like I'm addicted.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to meat. But if I had a switch that I could flip and just never have to eat meat,
your meat craving.
Yeah, I would love to kill that. I think it's horrible that we kill animals. I think it'd be healthier and I like obviously it's a living, breathing thing. I would rather not eat it, but easier said than done.
Yeah, easier said than done for sure.
Thanks for coming on the podcast. Is there anything you want to
good to hang out with you, man.
plug besides the Build Show?
BuildShowNetwork.com, The Build Show on YouTube, and you and I both are on the Talk and the Gram, Reisinger Build on both those.
A few 100K there. This is a big shot I got on the podcast. Thanks for doing it. Really
Totally,
nice.
man.
Thank you.
Dude, that was great.
You're listening to
Unlicensed Therapy with Ari Mannis.
Unlicensed Therapy with Ari Mannis.